Hey, good morning everyone, this is Jason with Bamboo Acres. Today I want to do a quick review of this Ditch Witch SK800. We've been calling around trying to find a little dingo at all of our local rental places, and everyone was out. Thankfully, the guy on the phone was smart enough to suggest that they had a Ditch Witch, and all I ever knew them to be was a trencher. But he talked to me on the phone and he told me, no, you got to try this thing out. It's just as good as a dingo. So I had no other option, so I said, sure, why not? I'll be honest, I was skeptical, but we've been running the last day, and it's absolutely phenomenal. And I've used a dingo before, and I got to say that I'm impressed. Going forward, I will hands down any day rent one of these over a dingo. And the reason being is I felt a lot more stable using this machine. It was a lot easier to handle. The controls are more ergonomics, and I loved it. This thing was a workhorse. We got so much done in probably 6 or 7 hours that we've been renting this thing. This specific machine, this one, is pushing almost 700 hours, an hour or two short of 700 hours, and it ran flawlessly. So obviously they upkeep their machines, but to have 700 hours on a rental equipment being used and abused by customers have no idea what they're doing with these machines, and just the wear and tear is phenomenal on a rental equipment. And this thing just ran awesome. And we used and abused it, and it kept up. It didn't bog down, it didn't struggle with anything, and it's just a pleasure to drive around, and we got a ton done. So stay tuned and we'll go around and we'll look at some of the specs on this machine real quick. Okay, so this was a big deal for me. I couldn't use a full-size piece of equipment. I needed something small that I could get into my little stalls and muck out the stalls. So for those of you that are going to be using it similarly, this bucket on here measures about 44.5 inches. So that's important for you guys that have short clearance. The quick release is super simple on these. It's these two levers here. You pop them open, tilt the bucket, and you can put on a different implement. The tracks are a little bit more narrow than the bucket, which would make sense, but we are about 42, give or take, inches, and lengthwise, get a rough estimate on the length here. Some of you, this may not be important, but those of you who work in tight quarters, it's about 108, maybe 105, give or take. I'm eyeballing it, so somewhere in there. But this thing was awesome. I used it inside of my chicken coop, and let me tell you, that was a dance. I had literally a foot in front of me and a foot behind me, and I was still able to pivot around in there. Mucky, wet, and sandy conditions. And I didn't throw any tracks, which you always worry about when you're operating a tracked vehicle spinning around like that. You can get debris in there and throw your track, which is a nightmare. So I was worried about that. No problems whatsoever. This thing is great in tight quarters, and it's strong. I was really surprised because dealing with that really heavy material, I thought it would bog down and have issues. None whatsoever. So this thing, 5 stars out of 5. Absolutely love it. So you have your hydraulic reservoir right there on the left hand side. You have your diesel fuel here on the right hand side, and they were nice enough to give you a gauge there. A little bit dirty, but you can clearly read that. Okay, so just want to talk about this. May not seem like a big deal, but these are foam pads here. These are great because when you're standing here, this standing pad here is awesome. You got a lot of room here to move around on, and this saves your hips from being banged around on this machine. I just want to show you real quick. See, I wasn't making things up. Almost 700 hours. These are your controls. This is your one control for your bucket here. You have your throttle control here. This is for your attachments, and then these are your controls. I found myself most of the time holding on with the right hand while driving, and then you have your controls here for your left and right and for your tracks. This thing's awesome. It was so much more comfortable than the dingo from the one that we rented. one more thing I wanted to mention is the lift capacity. That's pretty important to a lot of people out there, including myself. I have a sawmill, and I was kind of playing around with the idea of maybe getting one of these down the road to help me load logs onto my trailer on my sawmill. The lift capacity is about 900 pounds, if I recall correctly. Don't quote me, but I'm pretty sure that's what we read. I'll have to see what else Ditch Witch has. No means did they sponsor me for this video. I know very little about Ditch Witch, to be honest, but this is my first time renting or operating or using any kind of Ditch Witch equipment, and I'm impressed. I'll definitely be renting one of these again, if not buying one down the road. Those of you that have a small little farm, little project, spreading gravel, mucking stalls, moving dirt for your garden, whatever, this is great. And they got a lot of little implement attachments for them. You can get grapple hooks, augers, all kinds of things. So great little tool to have on a small little farm. Maybe not if you have a large farm, but a small farm, this is a great piece of equipment to own. Anyways, again, I'm not sponsored by Ditch Witch. I appreciate you guys tuning in and watching. Stay tuned for more videos coming. Thanks. Bye.